So, quick overview, fuck ball sacks. Quick overview of my life. I was born dying. Um, Born into a really poor family, abusive childhood, diagnosed with Tourette's syndrome at age 6 or 7. By age 10, I stopped taking the medication of my own decision because I decided it didn't help me much. It, in fact, made other things worse, like made me gain a lot of weight. So it made the bullying at school even worse. Sometimes it made my tics even worse. So I decided I was going to do my best to figure out how to control them, like using my mind. And at first, I learned how to hold them in, but that only works for so long. And then you have to like let them all out in private, and you just be like taking up a fucking storm, like grandfather clock ticking. Okay, and so, but it worked for like the time being, classes and stuff. Because I got in trouble in school a lot for it, which is ridiculous. But nonetheless, definitely not the most absurd thing in my life. So I eventually I trained myself how to replace certain tics with other things that were not as obvious and loud. Like, for instance, one of my first tics was snorting like a pig, like literally snorting like a pig, you know, and pretty loud, pretty obvious. So I taught myself, like, learned that if I did this, that it still fulfilled that tic and not as obvious, right? It still ended up getting me in trouble in 7th grade. But anyhow, so had that, fucking, like I said, abusive home life. My mom was amazing, incredible. Stepdad, not so much, but there's lessons he taught me that even if I don't want to admit it, I still learned invaluable things from him, even though he's a piece of shit. Sorry. Anyhow, and then I went through foster care system, and the first foster home I was in, I was sexually assaulted by my foster dad several times. I was also smoking cigarettes, which is how he ended up like doing all this stuff to me, because I was getting cigarettes from him. And so obviously when I was asked about that, I lied because I didn't want to get in trouble for that. So anyhow, I hadn't told anyone about the stuff he'd been doing to me, like smacking my butt, being in my room late at night. Like, I'd wake up in the middle of the night, he'd be at the foot of the bed just staring at me, and it would terrify me, it'd petrify me, it'd be frozen. And anyhow, my best friend ended up coming back to town because she was at her dad's all summer. And I told her, oh yeah, he can get us cigarettes, woohoo. I wasn't going to tell her any of the bad stuff that was happening. And that day she went out back to the pond where I'd smoke, and he had given it to her, and then she left, and then he had mine, and he's like, come get it, come here, come here. And I was like, Ron, just give me the cigarette. And he's like, no, come here, trying to get me to come closer. And I was like, no, just give it to me. And he tried grabbing after me a couple times, and then eventually he put his fucking leg around my hip and like tried pulling me into his lap like that. And I was pissed. I shoved his legs down off of me, told him, no, Ron, grab that fucking unfiltered, nasty ass cigarette and ran. Well, I still wasn't going to tell Rachel about it, my best friend. But we'd been best friends for a while. She could see right through me. And so she eventually got the truth out of me, and eventually made me tell her mom, which made me tell, like, the social worker and shit. Anyhow, push come to shove, no one believed me, except, of course, like, my family, my friends shit, but, like, the system, the foster parents, whatever. None of them believed me. I was called a liar. Okay, whatever. They removed me from the home. They moved my little sister, but they moved her in a home where the foster mom was best friends with that mom. And they had little, like, slumber parties and stuff between the foster kids they had. So within that month after that, like, I'm having to repeat the story multiple times over to foster parents, to social workers, to different people I didn't know, write it out multiple fucking times, like, not very fun, but whatever, they want to make sure you're not lying, which, I don't know, I feel like, had they known anything about my background, I would never lie about something like that. But anyhow, I was deemed a liar, whatever. So the first month afterwards, we had a, what's it called, supervised visit as usual. And the supervisor's driving us back to our places, and she's going to my sister, my little sister, where she's staying, and my older sister. They're staying at the same place now at this time. We're like a block from there, right? They're gonna drop them off first. And I'm in the back seat with Katie, my little sister, and Cress is in the front, my older sister, with Joellen, the amazing supervisor slash transporter. And we get about a block or so away from her house, and Katie leans over, whispers in my ear, "I believe you, Candy." And I shit you not, I fucking instantly knew. And I looked at her and said, "Katie, what happened? Tell me what happened." And she told me. And I told her, she's got to tell someone, like, that's what I was told when it happened, you've got to tell someone. And so she did. And then they end up separating us because they tried saying, like, I was making her say this and all this shit, But no one ever told me this whole time. I didn't get to talk to her again for years or see her at all. No one told me that her case was actually ended up being founded. And I later on read papers that they had sent to the foster parents saying, "We're so sorry for this inconvenience. We're going to have to take the kids that you'd adopted just for temporary, but this will all blow over in 6 months. You'll get your license back. No biggie," in essence. And it literally did say, like, this will blow over in 6 months. So, whatever. Anyhow, so, I get out of there. I run away at one point, and I end up turning myself in twice, because the first time, the cop shop, I'm not on the missing persons list. So, yeah, I was like, okay, this is awkward, being 15 years old, having ran away from, like, a state fucking funded group home. Alrighty, very awkward. Walked right out the door. About a month later, I'm like, no, I really want to fucking graduate high school. I'm sick of this shit, like, not going to school, just doing nothing all day. I wanted to do something with my life. I wanted to graduate high school. I wanted to improve my life and, like, break the cycle that my family's been in. So I turned myself in to DHS instead, and even then, I ended up waiting so long for anyone to even see me that I ended up leaving and going to Walmart with one of my family members for a while and coming back. So anyhow, and then I end up in this foster home where the woman wants to adopt me and wants me to call her mom, but under the condition that I cut my natural family out of my life forever. Like, forget they ever exist. No, I couldn't do that, and I wouldn't do that. And at that age, I didn't know how to express that to her. I didn't even know how I felt. I numbed myself when I was 13, and the day we got taken away, and I started crying once I realized, and my little sister was crying, and my mom, and I was standing maybe 5-6 feet away from them, and they're hugging and stuff, and I'm crying, and I don't know, just suddenly, I suppose as a coping mechanism, I just numbed myself, and the tears stopped instantly, and I felt nothing. And it's odd. But anyhow, so she, it wasn't her intention. I just still don't understand why she went about it the way she did. I understand why she was upset. I do. She felt rejected by me. But I don't understand why she went about it the way she did. She was taking psychology courses and stuff. Like, I watched Dr. Phil and would use his stuff and twist it against me. And, I mean, she psychologically tortured me for 2 years, in essence, to the point where I was going to kill myself. I wrote a lot of poetry, a lot of dark poetry. She didn't know I wrote poetry. She never cared to get to know me. She's not a bad person. Don't think I'm saying that, because she's not. She's just human, was hurt, and went about something in a really very destructive way to me. And apparently didn't realize it. I mean, I was going to slit my throat from ear to fucking ear after I put a note on my door saying for only her to come in and not my little foster sisters, because I didn't want them to see. I love them like sisters. And that's another thing. She told them that I didn't want them to be my sisters. And, like, that's one of the things that hurt so fucking much. And what do you do then? Tell them, no, your mom's a liar. I never said that. I mean, I didn't say that, but you can't. No. Anyhow. So, I was at a visit one day, and my mom would always have me read my poetry to her, and I love that about my mom, and always have. Like, she knew me, she knows me, she knows what I love when I'm passionate about what I do. So I was reading a poem that I had written to Nikki, actually titled "I'm Sorry," and it was like, I'm sorry I can't find the words to say. I'm sorry that I'm not good enough. I'm sorry that I'm spineless, like using the words that she always used against me. I'm cold. I'm heartless. Whatever, you know. I started bawling, and they're like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa!" Like, obviously something's really fucking wrong. And so I told them, I didn't tell them I was suicidal at the point. I just told them, like, things aren't going very well there, and I was extremely depressed and hurt. So I'm getting moved. So anyhow, and I get out of foster care. I have a boyfriend cheat on me, whatever. End up meeting this guy who sold drugs and weed. And I'm getting with him. He's very abusive, emotionally, mentally, physically. And end up being freed by prison, ironically. And Al got out of prison. So my point of all this is that I'm ashamed of myself now. Like, not now today, but now from lately in the last year or two. I gave up. I gave up on me, and I didn't even realize it. I gave up on myself. To me, that is like the worst. Because out of all the people in the world that you are guaranteed to be with till the day you die is yourself. Okay? Death, you do it alone. Being born, I mean, there's people there, but you do it alone. Fire starting up, or the blower. Woo woo. Anyhow, my point is, if I've survived all that, and I have, and thrived, and I made it out a better fucking person, being able to help others and shit, how the fuck did I ever let a fucking handful list of health conditions bring me down to the point where I gave up? I mean, it scared me, and I didn't want to push myself and shit, but I gave up, and it made my situation so much worse, and I am ashamed. I'm supposed to be my own best friend, my best, biggest rooter, my own fucking, pusher, like, push myself to be the best, better than myself every fucking day, not best at it everybody else, because everyone is different. We shouldn't compare ourselves to other people. Compare yourself to who you were yesterday. Be a better version of yourself every day, and that's what I want to be. And so I've decided to take my life in my hands, back in my hands, and take control. And for the last week, I've been doing, building up little exercises for my back muscles and arm muscles. And today I did a bunch of reps, like a bunch of, I can't do a full put, oh, I haven't tried, but I've been doing, building myself up to push-ups, doing the 45-degree angle against different surfaces. And did a bunch of those today, and on the lower surface, did some squats with weights, lifted some weights. I am so proud of myself today. And I am not planning on giving up. And my message, my point of this video, is no matter what's against you, don't give up. You can't give up on yourself. Everybody in the world might give up on you, might stop believing in you, or knowing you can do it, but don't give up on yourself. Don't stop believing in yourself, because that's when it is over. It's not even a question then, because you gave up if you don't even try. And I stopped trying. And I was ashamed. I am ashamed. But I'm proud to say that I'm changing that now. Life, it can be what you want it to an extent. I'm not saying if you're starving in a fucking third world country, that all of a sudden if you think you have food, you're gonna have food. It's not fucking Peter Pan-ish out here. Though manifesting is very real, it's, a whole nother fucking topic. But your life's what you make it. And, if I don't even try, I don't deserve anything good. I've had a lot of shit handed to me. But it's my job to transmute that shit to fucking gold. And I will. You watch.